Welcome to Armchair Turkey Party.
That was good.
Oh, thank you. You know, I stole that from Aaron. He cracked that impression.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that he dedicated some time to that.
Oh,
just like his Steve Urkel.
Yes. Similar dedication. Once a year, they'd have a 4th of July party, and he would be drunk at like 6 a.m., and you'd hear him out in the yard acting like a turkey with the turkey.
Oh, wow.
And then the turkey would join in, and they would communicate, basically.
Oh, that's sweet.
He's always had a connection with animals. You know who else has a great connection with animals? Maybe just their house, the outdoors, nature.
That's right.
Nick Offerman.
He does.
And he has a new book out called Where the Deer and the Antelope Play, which is a tour of America's most beautiful places, as well as a mission statement about loving, protecting, and experiencing the outdoors. It's a good message.
It's a great message, and he's a beautiful person. I love him.
He is a beautiful person. He's so awesome. It's what I like about you. He's very competent. I love competence.
He's very competent.
It seems he can do anything.
And he has a kind of what you would think is a hard exterior, but a very soft inside.
Yes, very Eminem-like in warm weather.
Oh, Eminem the candy.
Yeah, not the
rapper.
MC.
I don't know enough about the rapper to be able to say.
I don't either, but I'd like to find out.
Me too.
Eminem, if you're listening, get on
Let's
here.
make this about Eminem.
Well, how about this, Eminem? You listen to Nick Offerman right now and tell me if you'd like to have a similar conversation.
There we
If
go.
so, hit me on IG, I guess. Please enjoy Nick Offerman.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
I'm ashamed to admit it, but I've just I've crossed some threshold with it where I'm like, I'm vaxxed, I get tested, and that's the end of how much I'm going to think about this anymore.
Right.
I don't know. I'm sure that's unethical, but I'm just like, I'm doing the shit that I got to do, and I don't have any more space for this fucking experience in my life.
Well, it's just like the news over the last 6-7 years. It's like you reach a point where you listen to it every day, and then you're like, oh, don't ever play it again. But it's just that thing of like going to the hospital or going to a film set where I'm like, do everything I can.
I should drill down into this. I guess I have some arrogance about it. Like, I guess I think someone on the film set's going to get it, but I don't think it's going to be me because I don't fucking do anything. You know what I'm saying? I'm like at my house with my kids.
Totally.
And then I go to work. And really, this is my work. So, I don't know. How do you feel? You've changed. You've evolved quite a bit, I've noticed.
I was really scared of it at first. Well, I wasn't scared of it. It was the same thing. I was just like, I can't live if I give it to somebody.
Right.
But I have evolved. I've gotten much less strict, having done all the protocols. I wear masks out and around. You know, it's not like.
But we were in England, and let me tell you, man, they don't wear anything. I mean, mind you, they're highly vaxxed, which is fantastic.
80%,
Right.
yeah.
But they're not wearing it. And I got to say, we were there, and I'm like, I fucking love this. I miss this. And I got tested when I got home, and everything was kosher. I missed it.
It's either like lock ourselves in a bubble or roll the dice a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when it calls for it, then I'm like, come on, you guys, can't we err on the side of safety?
Yeah.
Like if we're getting in the subway car, like,
Yeah.
I think there's no fans in here, guys. Like,
We're riding in a Ziploc gang. Has that occurred to everyone?
I'm going to hold my breath all the way to Canal Street.
Yeah, we didn't do any, like, there was no getting on the tube. I wouldn't have enjoyed, that would have scared me.
We had one moment where we had stepped into a restaurant to request a table, and there was maybe 4 people in front of us, and the hallway was narrow, and the ceiling was very low, which as a tall person, I'm already kind of claustrophobic. That was the only moment where I was like, well, if these people have it, it's whatever they have in their mouth is in my mouth for sure. But that was the only time.
Oh my gosh. And do you guys know that people have fake vaccine cards?
Oh, yeah. And they're expensive.
I mean,
People pay good money rather than get a free vaccine.
Exactly.
They pay $500 for like a counterfeit vaccine card.
Okay, so fuck it, we're talking about it. So I've been on here kind of vocal about the fact that I was one of these people that by nature, I was like, the science isn't settled. Like there's a lot of marching orders and there's a lot of questions. And again, from my childhood, a lot of trustworthy people lied and had agendas. So I'm scarred by that. And I don't believe people, whatever.
Sure.
I came into it with that baggage. I did all the right shit. Like I did quarantine. I did everything that my wife and Monica would make them feel safe. So I'm a little bit sympathetic to other people who've had mass trauma who don't trust people. Like I get that part. Now the thing that fucking pisses me off, and it's the first time I've broke my silence on social media about it, was this notion that you're super brave if you don't get a vaccine. That pisses me off because I have a bar for what bravery is. And don't you fucking dare call that being brave.
No, for some reason, because of, through no fault of my own, some months ago, I was asked to speak to Congress.
Oh my God.
Wow.
On woodworking?
No, on vaccination.
No shit.
So basically, they were like, we have scientists, we have leaders. What we need is a dipshit. Like, who are the people gonna listen to? Who knows how to drive a nail? And so I wrote up this 5-minute thing, and the comforting thing was that all of the science that goes into it all was very reassuring, and the general science around this has been going on for decades. And so that it made me feel confident in saying, okay, look, there's nothing dangerous here. You're absolutely right that we don't know, but we also don't know what's in so many things that we shove into our bodies.
How many fucking dudes are like, I ain't putting something in my body. Give me that straw. They're huffing, they're fucking banging rails back with next to some stranger in a bathroom. That's totally fine. But something that FDA approved, is just way too high risk. By the time you got there to talk to Congress, first of all, I have tons of questions about that. But had you had the data, because my thing now is like, you can't get around the fact that unvaccinated people are dying 11 to 1. Like that's end of story for me. Whatever else you want to say about it, okay, but they're dying at 11 to 1. That's open and shut. Did you have that info by the time you got there?
Sort of, not that concrete, but generally, yes. Like those numbers hadn't started coming in yet.
Right.
But generally, that was the sensibility of like, look, the dangers of not getting vaccinated is there's a good chance you'll die of COVID.
Right,
significant.
If you get it. The dangers of getting vaccinated are so minuscule compared to anything without it.
Yeah.
I've got a plaque hanging in my wood shop that my best friend made a long time ago that says, "My God-given right to go to hell."
Yeah.
And it's what I love and despise about us Americans.
I couldn't agree more.
Where we're like,
Yeah.
by God, we're the greatest. And at the same time, we're like, I'm going to shoot myself in the foot. You better stand back.
Yeah.
That's right. I do believe in the right to self-destruct. To be honest, I generally would defend one's individual right to self-destruct. Of course, it gets complicated in that you're going to take some people down with you, likely.
Right.
So that's where it gets murky. And it's been fun to watch the American part. So, like, there are national characters. We have one. We're a country of immigrants. We have a ton of dopamine. We are bipolar. All these things. So we sucked at quarantining. We don't want to follow rules. We sucked at masks. We sucked at all that. But by God, we got that fucking vaccine done in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And we distributed it, and we passed everyone getting vaccinated. I was like, oh, right. So it's all trade-offs. Now we're kicking ass. These other people that were super cautious, they can't even decide who's getting the vaccine. So it all, to me, it's like, you can't just say one's good or bad. It's like, this comes with this, that comes with that. What were you going to say?
To me, there is so much privilege here that there's even a choice. Like in these so many other countries, they just don't have it. They don't have enough of it, and they want it. But we're like, oh, we have tons, but maybe I'll take it, maybe I won't.
That's upsetting. Ultimately, and this is something that runs through this new book of mine, is the lack of nuance in every national conversation.
Yeah.
Everything has to be reduced to the length of a tweet. Mm-hmm. And so is it good or bad?
Right.
Tell me who to vote for before I punch you. And it's like, well, hang on. There's actually anything involving more than one human has
Exactly.
a whole bunch of boxes to check. I always say, just reduce it down to like a suburban full of kids. Just try and negotiate with that group. And you can't keep all those people happy. But even if we did, miraculously, it's not going to last because it's still human beings. So even if everyone's happy, everyone's napping, or everyone has an ice cream, man, that ice cream's going to run out or they're going to wake up.
So you just said something really subtle that probably blew past a lot of people's head. And I think it might be the quintessential thing you'll say today, which is a suburban full of kids, because that tells me every single thing I need to know about your childhood, who you are, and everything. You didn't say a minivan. You didn't say this. Like, you understand what a life in a Suburban is like.
Yeah. Well, that is a big part of my persona. And for 12 years, that Suburban was a 3-speed on the tree.
Oh, baby. 3 on the tree.
And we had 3 siblings. So you got mom and dad up front, and then the back, from the bench front seat back to the power window.
Yeah.
Is a layer of coolers and luggage covered in sleeping bags.
Oh, wow.
So the back of the Suburban on the road trip is like a massive like kid bed.
A fort.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
fun.
Did you see Crazy Heart?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So to me, the moment I knew there was going to be a great movie, I wonder if you relate, is he drove a Suburban, and when he got up, before he even activated the window, he got his hands on that rear window because it doesn't come up and down. You're going to need to assist that. And I was like, he fucking took the time to learn this vehicle.
Yeah.
I'm blown away just from that move. That's what I don't do as an actor.
Well, just a touch like that can make or break an entire film. One of the greatest actors of our day, Joaquin Phoenix. There was a movie called Signs. Joaquin was playing a kid, and at some point he had to go out and use a shovel, and then come back in from using a shovel. And his jeans were so clean when he came back in
You're out.
that I was like, the magic is gone.
That's true. That's so true.
He has since made up for it.
Yeah, he redeemed himself. He's like focused on the emotions. Like, let's let him focus on. I can't do the emotions he's doing.
It's true.
Yeah, you and I would worry about the jeans, and we'd miss the emotions.
I know.
Maybe.
The ultimate actor is, can you check all those boxes?
Now, it's funny you'd say when going to Congress, they have identified you as someone who might be able to speak to folks that they can't speak to. And I'll give Howard Stern credit for this. Like, I don't think there's ever been a gay activist who's done as much for the cause as Howard Stern, because the gay activists were talking to other gay activists and other liberals like me. They weren't talking to the adversary.
Right.
And Howard Stern, his fan base is solely almost what it is.
Jamokes.
Yeah, jabonis.
Among who I would count myself. I mean,
Me too.
I say that with affection.
Yeah, I guess. Oh man, well. Let's talk about going to Congress. So you fly there, and are you greeted?
No. This 4 or 5 months ago, so it's Zoom.
Oh,
Unfortunately.
Yeah, because how many times have we seen movies where it's like the person goes there and they make this impassioned speech? You
I was
change the
so
world.
excited. I was like, "This is going to fix everything." You finally asked me for 5 minutes. Problem solved.
Yeah, it'll be about vaccines, but you'll be able to map on the logic of this argument onto all the problems in the government and solve everything.
If I might swing over to cancer real quick. Got some ideas.
I'm going to tap dance around a little bit.
No, it was, in fact, kind of a comedy because, like, we did an episode of Parks and Rec by Zoom when the pandemic just started.
Okay.
So you got one of those screens with, like, 12 or 16 people or whatever. And the congressional hearing was similar. And so you got Congress people, like, in the back of a limo, like, looking at their phone, you know, half paying attention. It
So
had
many people on mute.
Anyone on a Peloton?
might as well have been.
Yeah.
And it felt like an episode of Parks and Rec where
Yes.
It's too absurd.
the
What
public
everyone was.
officials are like, "I'm sorry, what were you saying?" Give me 2 hot sauce with the 6-piece. Oh, yeah, no, go ahead.
Oh, that's hysterical. You know what's funny? The Suburban, if I had to say, like, my stereotype of a social studies teacher, it is a fucking Suburban, and it's either the orange and brown and white stripe in the middle, the tritone. What color was Dad's? I assume it was, his dad was a social studies teacher. So to me, that is like a bullseye of what a social studies teacher should drive.
Totally. That ex-farmer, like, grew up on a farm, the town star of, like, basketball and baseball, and then become school teacher. We never bought a new one. The first one was very used, and it was fully gray.
Who knows what color it started as?
Yeah. It was like primer with a gloss coat on top of it. And then we traded that in 82, I want to say, for blue with like the silver middle stripe. And that had power windows.
Oh, baby.
And that was like, we're now upper middle class. We have power windows.
Yeah, big time. It wasn't the diesel, was it?
And it was an automatic. No,
Oh,
it was
okay.
not a diesel.
So here's another thing I think you and I share. But now I want to say that what I understand about your woodworking is it's actually pretty damn good. But again, it could be average, but because you're the only actor I know who does it, I think you've been elevated to like master craftsman. And I just want to say similarly, I can work on cars. Mm-hmm. I'm not a fucking fabricator. I'm not great. But in Hollywood, I am a unicorn. And people seem to be really perplexed and intrigued by the whole thing. And I think we probably share that.
That's a great point, yeah. And the word mastery is what jumps out at me because I often get introduced as actor, writer, master woodworker.
Oh my God.
And I say, who the fuck, where did you ever get that? Because, oh my God, he made a table. He's a master.
Yeah.
And so I am friends with master woodworkers. And the reason they're masters is because they spend their lives pursuing mastery.
Yeah.
Whereas I spend my life doing a podcast with you two,
Sure.
writing a book, doing a TV show. I'm a very competent woodworker, and I'm really proud of my work, and I've done some beautiful stuff. But I can name 100 off the top of my head that are way better than me because that's what they do.
Yes.
And their performance in The Crucible as John Proctor doesn't hold up to mine. That's the
give and
relation.
take there.
Yeah.
Wait, what's the piece you're most proud of? Or if you like built a house? I don't know the
He makes
extent.
canoes.
No.
He's made a ukulele.
Wow.
Those I'm very proud of. Probably my first canoe. Like to build a canoe out of wood and then paddle it. I foolishly launched it in New York Harbor. I built it in Brooklyn and quickly learned you don't want a little open boat out on that big of water.
Yeah. And there's also gigantic vessels passing that are creating huge waves you weren't anticipating.
It was the wake of the water taxi that changed my tune real quick. But then eventually I've been on a bunch of rivers with my canoe and with paddles that I've made as well. And that sensibility of like turning wood into watercraft and touching the part of our ancestry that's like, oh, I can get across the water.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
If the shit goes down, I can get across the water.
Yes.
I agree. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
These little things happen all the time. So right where we're sitting, in the corner of the yard, we have this a huge tree that had died and an end of it was cut off. But the point is it goes all the way up probably 10 feet in the air and then it's just cut off. And our dog has recently been getting his ass up there. I'll look out the back window and the dog looks like it's levitating like 12 feet in the air. And then it jumps into the neighbor's house. Nobody lives there. So if I got to jump a fence, it's a pain in the ass. So I had friends over yesterday and by God, that motherfucker goes up there again. And we're playing cards. And I go, I need 5 minutes. I go get my chainsaw for my sisters. I go grab my chainsaw. I come up there. I get rid of that fucking log already. I come back in. And it's as if I turned water into wine because we're in LA.
Oh, yeah.
And I love it. Like in Michigan, I'm very average at all, quote, manly tasks.
Yeah.
Just competent, as you would say.
I have two sisters and a brother, and my sisters, by that measure, are so much more manly than me. Like, I'm the family member who's had 2 semesters of ballet. And, like, they have, I guarantee they've split more firewood in the last year.
Shoveled more snow.
I'm a soft-ass
great.
actor, living in Los Angeles.
Sure.
And yes, I can use a chainsaw, but so can my mom,
Yeah, and they're electric now, too. I was trying to tell them, like, any one of you could have went out there and died. I mean, you got to watch where the log's going to fall. You find that out the hard way when you're younger. But other than that, you just pull the trigger and let's party.
The one thing, if anybody starts messing with a chainsaw, just understand the weight of your material and what's going to pinch the blade.
Yeah.
That's what'll really hurt your feelings.
Yes, great point.
You cut down the tree. I thought you took the chainsaw to the dog.
I would have loved to. My wife's in fucking England for 6 weeks, and I keep fantasizing of ways this dog could be peacefully passed on, and it would be a plausible story, but I just haven't come up with one yet.
Let's workshop that.
But Joliet, right?
I was born in Joliet. That's the city near our farm town of Manuka.
Okay, now, so I shot in Joliet for a bit with Arnett.
Yeah, let's escape prison. Let's go to
right.
prison.
Let's have fun in prison was the title. And
let's keep
go to
Mike Shannon's hands off of me.
Yes.
I actually, when I was a kid, one of the jobs I had was on a blacktop crew, and we put a basketball court in that prison.
When it was still functioning.
At Stateville, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so there's the old one, the Blues Brothers one. We were shooting in that. And then there's a pretty fancy one down the road that we also visited, which was quite an experience. And then we were up in Bolingbrook. So is it the other direction from Bolingbrook? Is it, I guess that Bolingbrook's north of Joliet, maybe?
It is. It's northeast. It's on your way to Chicago.
Right. And your town was?
We're southwest of there.
Southwest. I think we went bowling there. Or about that area.
You may have gone to Shanahan.
Yeah.
Which is, I love Shanahan. We're like, if we were Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Okay.
We're twin cities. And so they're the White Sox to my Cubs. So I have to give them a hard time.
Sure, of course.
But yeah, Shanahan's got the bowling alley, so they do have that.
What was the size of your school?
When I graduated high school, I want to say it was just under 200 in my class.
Oh, so that's an okay size, like 800 folks in there or something?
And that's combining Manuka, Shanahan, and Shorewood.
What was the vibe there? Because I grew up in a suburb of Detroit where it was literally the one where just beyond us was cornfields, right? So it was great because it was like half hillbilly, but then you could go to the city as well. And the vibe was what you'd expect. It was very blue collar. It was quite violent. You know, there's people were sorting things out physically all the time.
Sure.
And I wonder was it similar?
Ours was really stuck in the 50s. Like, it reminded me, not religiously per se, but of the high school in Footloose.
Oh, yeah.
Like real corn pone, kind of Chris Penn, line dancing vibe. The city did not reach Manuka. And in fact, when my cousin and I discovered breakdancing in the mid 80s, we had to go over to Shanahan to the skating rink, which was right next to the bowling alley.
Yeah.
So now that I'm thinking about it, Shanahan is really shaping up
It's such a superior
to be the place to be.
Yeah.
Wait, but just to make it so, it was 3 cities for one high school.
Yeah,
So-
3 towns. Yeah.
So we were like, 200, that's actually not that small. That is extremely small when you think how many places is
Well, that's how
coming together.
our high school was too.
Really?
It pulled from Milford, from Highland, from White Lake. There were 3 smaller towns of 10,000 people that all funneled into the one high school.
Wow.
It's not like my
That's
town
very
had its
different.
own. Even my high school I went to, Walled Lake Central, was pulling from 4 or 5 different little
Yeah, we
towns.
had like 3 high schools within
Duluth.
within a 5-mile radius.
She's a Georgian. I think that might interest you.
Yeah, in the context of what we're talking about, I would have had to go probably 30 to 45 minutes closer to Chicago to get where I felt like I had one side urban, one side cornfield.
Right.
We were just couldn't have been more homogenous.
Wow.
Yeah. And we had a McDonald's. Did you have more than one fast food place or no fast food
No
place?
fast food, no traffic light.
No traffic light.
So now the suburbs have reached Manuka. Like when I was there, it was sleepy farm town. Everybody knew everybody. Now it's people commuting from the city. And so now we have fast food and 4 or 5 traffic lights. It's exponentially bigger.
Wow.
And now there's like more like that. There's 3 high schools.
Yeah.
There's 5 junior highs and that kind of thing.
That kind of sounds like what Bolingbrook was, because Arnett and I every night would be like, you want Applebee's, Chili's, or, they had like the 5 staples
Totally.
and not one independent. You could tell like it all happened in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And your role in high school, like how did you, because what's really, of course, intriguing about you is you have all these, I got to call them that. I know it's not cool to say this anymore, but you have all these masculine tropes, but yet you're super artsy. And as you said, you did ballet. So where did that put you in the niche
I'm
in high
sissy
school?
AF. It was very interesting in high school. I was an athlete. I ended up being one of the 3 captains of the football team senior year. I was a defensive back, so I was fast and I was a good hitter. And then like basketball, I was like number 5 or 6 guy. Baseball, I started at third base, but I could bat like 6th. I was decent and had a lot of fun. I was a good student, but I was real sharp enough that I would get 93s. So I made sure I'd get the A's, but only just.
Yeah, good for you.
Because that other 7 points, that's fun time that I like.
1,000%.
To me, this is the telling thing about me in high school. Me and someone else close to me would go out and spray graffiti on the football field, or we would use herbicide, the contentious herbicide Roundup, because I hate to put this out there, but you can use that herbicide to write shit on your football field
Sure.
overnight. And then the next day, I as president of the student council,
Oh, wow.
would form a committee to go clean up
Oh,
the
my God.
graffiti.
Oh, my. Okay.
So I was a horribly duplicitous
The duality.
jerk, like
Wow.
artful dodger, always figuring out what can I get away with, like pushing the envelope. And I'm happy to say by the time I started college and I was like experimenting with shoplifting and lying about shit and just like,
Yeah.
how slick am I or not?
Yeah. Can I just ask really quick? Was there some element of it? Because I had this a bit, was like, I wanted to test my wits against everything. It's like, I don't even know if I was intrigued by the actual crime itself. It's just like, could I outfox somebody?
Or yeah, exactly. I didn't need or want the shit I was stealing. It was
Right.
like, how far, like what is fun? What can I get away with? And I learned pretty quickly. And because I'm a straight white kid, I went to jail. I got arrested in a Kmart
Oh.
and ended up with like community service
Yeah.
at like an animal shelter. And then
It's making you a better person.
eventually I meet like inner city friends that they're like, no, my dad's still in jail because,
Did the exact same thing.
yeah.
Yeah, my thing in that capacity was like drugs. The fact that I never went to prison, I was a raging drug addict, always carrying drugs. It finally occurred to me, like, oh yeah, I would have been.
Right. Anyone that has any question about white privilege, it's like,
Yeah, think about some of the
Yeah.
things,
it's bonkers.
stories you'll tell where you got out of this, or you confronted this guy, or you stood up to that. Yeah,
But thankfully, by the time I got to college, I called my mom and dad, who were literally just the salt of the earth, and I said, sorry about the last 4 or 5 years. Things are real clear suddenly. I'm out on my own. And B, thank you so much for the 3 things, like the lessons. You had so much patience and said, all you got to do is be honest. All you got to do is work your hardest, and nobody can ever fault you. If you never tell a lie, then you don't have to remember anything and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And once that clicked in, then I was like, okay, thank you, Mom and Dad. I love you. Now this is ground zero, and I'll spend my adulthood trying to make up for the misgivings of my youth.
Well, so yeah, I can relate in that I had a burdensome conscience, so I would do shit, but then it really ate at me, right? And there was some level that I bailed out. It's like, yeah, I'll throw apples at cars. Yeah, I'll do this. But then when my friends started like smashing mailboxes, I just pictured my single mother having to replace her. I was like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't like vandalize someone's store. I imagine again my mom owning. So it was weird. I would want to play with it, but then I also I'd feel terrible about some of the stuff.
It's a wonderful point. I mean, and that's at the heart of the fucking message of empathy worldwide is like, that's somebody's mailbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those foreigners that you bombed, that's somebody's family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Et cetera.
Yeah.
Thankfully, at least in our case, we leaned towards sissy AF and became artists and
Yeah.
storytellers. And so I would just take a moment to say, please don't vandalize your high school.
We've given so many tips: how to use a chainsaw, how to vandalize.
This is
your
more of a
high school.
tutorial than an interview,
Yeah,
actually.
which was expected.
Yeah.
There are groundskeepers and janitorial staff whose hearts you will break
Yeah.
if you vandalize your school.
Also, like you were the captain of the football team, vandalizing your own football field. It's just so funny. Like normally, that's the rebel who hates the football guys.
Well, no, here's the thing, though. The graffiti was against the opposing team coming in the next day. Then the cover-up was there was a bunch of extra graffiti with the Poms blaming the cheerleaders and the cheerleaders blaming the Poms. So we threw up smoke screens
See?
like a
Oh my
motherfucker.
goodness.
So we're
You
like-
were testing your wits. You thought about every step.
The principal called me and was like, "So what do do you think of this as the Poms or the cheerleaders?" I was like, "I don't know.
Let's get a few of them in here and ask some questions.
That CH looks like the same handwriting
Oh my
as."
god, this is great.
Yeah, this was Kaiser Sose in high school. Like this is the high school years.
Totally.
Well, as soon as you told that story, it reminded me of one of my favorite things I ever heard in AA share, which was some guy said, look, man, I was a fucking scumbag alcoholic. Like, I'd steal your wallet and then I'd help you look for it. And I was like, oh my God, that's so great.
That's it.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Now, I've not read anything to confirm this, but I'm going to guess some bands that are in the mix in this era, if that's okay.
Sure. Take a swing.
Yeah, I'm going to say Talking Heads.
Not yet.
Oh, fuck.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Let's see. If I graduated in 93, this is 88.
88 was my graduating year.
Yeah. The Cult's not out yet, are they?
I don't know.
Okay.
I can-
What were they? I'm off base.
I can wrap it up with, with two words. Nothing good. I grew up in such a cultural vacuum. To this day, if it wasn't for my cool friends who I met in college and theater school, and they handed me things like the Talking Heads.
Right.
A pretty narrow field. Talking Heads, They Might Be Giants,
Yeah.
Laurie Anderson.
Are you friends with someone from They Might Be? Am I imagining something?
I have befriended the Johns of They Might Be Giants crazily.
Yeah.
And I did a music video for them.
That's why I know that. Yeah.
Which blew my mind because when we were in college, we made a couple videos to a couple of their songs and desperately tried to send them to
specs.
them for years. And then 20 years later, they were like, "Hey, would you be?" I was
That's
like,
that's a
"You,
sim.
but you got to see our particle man from the cemetery."
Yeah. That is a simulation moment where
It
you're like,
is.
well, this is.
It's super crazy. I grew up in such a cultural vacuum where it was just the popular, whatever the radio station was or what was on TV. And I had nobody cool. I had no one with any taste.
Right.
I mean, my older sister has pretty cool taste. She turned me on to like Queen and Wham UK.
Mm-hmm.
And that was enough in hindsight that I was like, those were much better choice. Like we went to Duran Duran.
Uh-huh.
That was all better than if I just had the Eagles or whatever.
So I guess I would have assumed prior to reading about you that I knew you and Polar have been friends for a long time, as I'm a friend of hers as well, and I just fucking adore her beyond belief. I hope you still feel that way about her.
Yeah, I mean, she's like, I hope we all live to a ripe old age, and when we do, she'll be like a bright, shining luminary in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
she's simply a leader.
Yeah.
you know? And
yeah.
she, who happens to be the funniest person, just an absolute comedy factory.
And generous and benevolent. And
Yeah.
all those things. Yeah, you're right. She's like, when you think about what a world with many more female leaders could look like, I kind of think of her in a way like, oh, yeah, that's the blueprint.
And I still work with her making our show, Making It.
Right.
And
You're 3 seasons or something?
we have done 3 seasons, and it's kind of sporadic. We're hoping for a 4th. We're always waiting to hear. I don't know if you're familiar with television networks,
Yeah.
but
Well, the only thing I know about it is it's highly predictable. You can pretty much, you can do a 4-year crop rotation. You can
Yeah.
really plan.
Yeah. Every time we do it, she and the other 3 executive producers in her company are just these smart, kick-ass, powerful ladies who I've never felt any kind of envy or competition with. All I feel is respect. Just immediately like, oh, I hope you're my boss.
Yeah.
Like, I hope you're in charge of everything because you're smart and you have all this experience, and I'm just a guy.
Well, I got to be honest. Like, if all things are equal, I meet a dude that's an 8 out of 10 on all those factors. And then I meet a woman that's 8 out of 10 on all those factors. I know that the woman also climbed over a much bigger hurdle. So, like, I have a built-in respect for
Yeah.
someone that's, like, competent in doing that job, knowing. Now, that could be any minority group, to be honest, where I'm like, fuck, you're all these things. And then also, it was probably 3 times as hard as it was for me to get here.
That's a very salient point. And to put it in physical terms, when you think about being out in the wild, as it were, we straight white men are just required to have much less vision. The periphery of apex predators, we've got it down, but all the other classifications are much more susceptible to the tigers of history.
Yes.
And so the 8 out of 10 woman is like, yes, we just have a much better chance of surviving with you watching out for the predators than
Yeah.
me.
Really true.
Because I like beer more than you.
Well, also, I'm way more concerned. The predator's an element, but to be honest, all I want is Nick to think I'm radical fighting the thing. I actually, all the other stuff is kind of secondary to the main goal at all times, which is like, you think I'm a badass.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
They have the perspicacity to be like, okay, guys,
Yeah, it's so cute,
as soon
but
as
it's
you're
not
done,
cute anymore.
we're going to need groceries.
Well, I never finished my point. Was that I would have assumed that because of the polar background that you were probably like Second City or maybe Improv Olympic or any of these things, but you were more of like just a straight actor. Is that fair to say?
100%. Yeah. I went to theater school at the University of Illinois at Champaign-Urbana, which sounds funny, but they have a great theater school.
You're not the first person we've interviewed that's gone there and studied acting.
Yeah, they give you a great set of fundamentals. It was lost on me. I sucked just about as bad when I left there as when I got there. Through no fault of their own, just because I was not waking up. I had not opened my eyes yet.
What wasn't clicking?
I didn't get the value of myself in my art. I devalued myself from the get-go, and all of these cool kids from the city or all of these like movie stars my age, I was like, oh, I have to try hard to be cool like them. What I bring to the table, who cares? Boring. And so the whole time I was like trying way too hard to be fucking cool when I would do my stuff. And they'd be like, why don't you just talk normal?
Well, I'm going to read you. I love that you're saying this because I was going to read you like the very last thing I was probably going to say to you, which is, I don't know if it was fortitude or unconscious, but to see someone stay true to who they are and not try to bend themselves into what you thought might work. Because from the outside, I look at you getting on Parks and Rec at 39, I'm thinking, God bless this guy for not trying to do what everyone else did. And then the time arose where his unique set of everything is celebrated. That ain't easy.
No, it takes stubbornness. I mean, depending on who you talk to or which of my landlords you talk to, it takes stupidity or rudeness. But stubbornness and tenacity. I found out you could get paid to be in plays in Chicago. And so that was I was like, great. Life solved.
Yeah.
And I went to Chicago and set about doing that. And I also got paid to build scenery for companies, and I was a fight choreographer. And I met Amy because one of my best friends lived in a house with Matt Besser, one of her Upright Citizens Brigade guys. And so we met, and it was pretty weird, like, especially looking back on it, at what happened to us. It was like 93 or 4. And we just kind of recognized, I don't know, a sibling energy. I remember she would punch me in the arm and be like, what's up, Offerman? And she got a kick out of me for whatever reason, because I was a particular brand of stupid. And it wasn't until years later that it even occurred to me, that you could get to SNL from Second City and Improv Olympic. So when I met Amy, she was like, oh, yeah, I do improv. And I was like, what? You work at a zoo? Like, it couldn't have been more alien. And I was like, okay, let me get this straight. You make shit up in a bar? Okay. I perform works of literature upon the stage. Good luck with you and your friends making funny faces. And like...
It is funny if you've been in this bubble for long enough, some of the people you've pitied at times, and you feel like, oh, fuck, did I miss the boat on that one?
But I do appreciate, I think if there's anything looking at my track record or whatever, it is that. It's like, it wasn't through wisdom or cognizance. It was just through common sense. Like I knew in my gut that I wasn't going to be slick. I knew that I was never going to have X factor. Like,
yeah. Well, you ironically do, but
yeah.
yes, I know what you're saying. You would only have X factor as you.
Right. But I didn't realize that that was the case. I instead equated it with like what other successful people are doing. That must be X factor.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing and not succeeding is stupid.
Yeah.
But I can't think of anything else to do. So I'm going to keep talking slow and growing whiskers. Somewhere out there, somebody is someday.
One day they'll have a need.
This is good looking for a slow talking mustache.
You know what it is? The script came in real light. It's only about 22 pages, and of course it should be 34. So do we have any actors that could make one of these 2-minute scenes like 7-8 minutes? That would be ideal.
But was Parks written like that? Like where you're like, oh, I'm perfect for this, or
they wrote it for you,
they
right?
tailored it.
No. It's one of those things where pretty quickly, with all the cast, it's interesting. They cast Rashida and Aziz and Aubrey and even Amy before they had anything written.
I remember this. This is when I was kind of around her a lot. And what I had heard is like, oh, some folks from The Office, she's going to do a show with them. It's greenlit, but we're not even sure what the show is
Totally.
maybe.
It was going to
in
be an
theory,
Office
it was almost
spin-off.
yeah, it was a spin-off, but then it wasn't. Yeah.
Right.
And so when Mike Schur and Greg Daniels were creating the show, they met somebody in Burbank. It was a woman, I believe, who worked in the government. She may have worked for the Parks Department, who was a libertarian who wanted to bring down the government. And so that was the spark of Leslie's boss, of Amy's boss on the show. And I think it was a little crazy. I initially read for another part, and then they decided that didn't work, and they tried to put me on Ron. And Ron was, I think, supposed to be older. But somehow I brought that 62-year-old flow where they were like, oh, this guy's way older than these old guys. Somehow it clicked, and they didn't want to believe it. NBC spent months where they were like, I don't know about Offerman. He's like, something's not right. And they auditioned everybody else and their brother. And then finally were like, well, we can't find anybody better, so I guess you can cast him. But so then once they put us in on the roles, then great comedy writers, that's their brilliance is.
Oh, fuck yeah.
They look at Dax and they're like, oh, okay, maybe a little too handsome for his own good, maybe athletic, but cocky, so he tries to juggle in the wrong circumstance.
Well, I did get to be on that show once, and I pretty much played that. I played some guy who had won like a bunch of Great Lakes Emmys. And I was like a king of my little world. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was like...
and on The Good Place, you were like a demon.
The grossest guy. Yeah, it's pretty clear how Schur thinks of me, which is fine. It's fine.
No.
It's just nice to be thought of.
Exactly. We were just talking about this with another guest. It was like my mom was like, when are you going to play someone not really stupid? And I was like, Mom, I'm going to play whoever the fuck they hire me to play.
Our poor moms.
I know. It's so hard to understand what's happening out here for them, isn't it?
It is, but eventually, like I've gotten kissed a couple times, and I'm so happy. As soon as I get that job, I immediately call my mom, and I'm like, Mom, this is totally like a love story. I get kissed by Toni Collette, and there's no catch. Like
it's just straight up.
Yeah.
I end the
You haven't
protagonist.
hypnotized her.
Yeah. I hilariously became aware of you pretty soon after I moved here in the late 90s. I forget how far I got in the process, but it was one of the first things where I got some traction and was getting looked at hard for
Idiocracy.
Idiocracy.
Oh my God, yes, you would have been a great
and I
Frito.
was like, oh my God, my best friend that I lived with, I was like, I found it. I found my part. This guy, all he does is masturbate. Like,
eat a flatulence.
and something happened out of Chicago, similarly with Sam, the Bob Fosse greatest actor of
Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
Similar thing where I was like, oh my God, my part for maybe Box of Moonlight, some movie where a Chicago casting director was like, it's going to happen. You're the right weirdo for blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, so that's how this business works. Someone can tell you it's happening, and it can still not happen.
Or it could even happen and then still not
still
happen.
not exactly.
There's like 9 ways you get cut out. It can never see the light of day.
And it was a great lesson. And then like, because maybe right around then, IMDb was about to be born. So you used to not be able to know who the hell somebody be like, well, what the hell, who are they? Where are they?
Yeah.
But that was the beginning of my list was Sam Rockwell and then you, where I was like, okay.
What company?
Fucking weirdos. Like,
yeah. Someone's got to play him.
yeah, flippy, like masturbating.
Yeah, go away.
The guy in the next cell who's always got his dick out.
Yeah, it's good work if you can get it.
We found our niche.
Yeah, I
It's
wasn't
a good
complaining.
group. I like that.
It is.
It is. And then pretty quickly, I somehow got shunted because you guys are both in like, there's a sexuality to both you guys that somehow I got shunted over into Rainn Wilson, which who I love. I mean,
Of course.
who's a leader and a philosopher king.
Yeah.
But we were like the guys in the basement that you were like, are they programming a computer or a robot? And should we be scared of them? And ultimately, usually it was like, no, they're nice guys.
Yeah, you'll find that out much later, but yeah.
Like Laszlo and the Real Genius, where it's like, okay,
yes,
those
you
guys
living in the closet.
they were okay
That's
after
right.
all that.
Great reference. reference. Great reference. Can I tell you my favorite line of that whole thing?
Please.
Oh my God, it led to one of the best stories that ever happened to me. Is if you recall, they hated Kent. He was the antagonist.
Totally.
And at one point, they said, Kent, what were you doing naked with that bowl of Jell-O?
This is a movie.
Yes, a real genius with Val Kilmer. Incredible performance. The movie's fantastic. And I was maybe 14 when I watched that movie. I don't know. And I was like, oh, a bowl of Jell-O. That would feel fantastic. But we did not eat Jell-O in my house. And I promise you, it was in my mind for about 9 years. And I finally moved to LA and I was in my 1-bedroom apartment in Santa Monica. And it literally like a light bulb. I was like, I have a car. I've got money. And Save-On sells Jell-O. Went to Save-On. They were selling Jell-O for $5 for $1. I was like, this is meant to be. I brought the Jell-O home. I already told the story. I'm not going to.
We haven't heard it in a long time, though. I will say that.
So I go home and I make this Jell-O and I make it in a like a mason jar type thing.
What
and
color, please?
Red. Red. It's
relevant.
It's a very relevant part of the story.
Oh,
so
yeah. I believe that flavor is cherry. Go on.
yes. So I make it. I've never made it in my life. I make it. I put it in the Jell-O, and then I sit in my lazy boy like I'm waiting for a call girl to come over. Like I'm just like fucking firm up already, right? Like I keep checking it in the fridge. And finally, I get it out of the fridge, and I think I was too. Well, I learned I was too early because I put my dick in this thing. I'm in my kitchen. I'm standing. I'm like shouldn't go to my bed in case I get somewhere. So I'm literally in my kitchen. I put my dick in it, a couple pumps, and I'm just fucking a glass of Kool-Aid. It's just a mess, and the shit's getting all over the floor. And I'm like, this was a total disaster. I can't believe I want to do this forever. Go to bed, wake up the next morning, go to pee, look at my dick. I'm like, I have a weird rash on my dick. I thought, oh, it's kind of like when you take a black light. Like what occurred to me was, oh my God, this is exposed an STD I have. That was my conclusion.
Right.
I don't have insurance. I go to this free clinic in LA. I cannot tell them I fucked a thing of Jell-O, so I tell them that my girlfriend and I were experimenting with Jell-O, okay? So I'm in this little curtained off area and I'm waiting for the doctor to come in. The doctor comes in and I'm promising you, Nick, that she was out of a casting office. She was like, she must have been a day out of med school. She was so beautiful, it was impossible.
Oh my God.
And she says, let me see what's going on. I pull my penis out and she gets down like on her knees and her face is right in front of my penis. And she's looking. And she goes, I promise you. She goes, what flavor was the Jell-O? And I go, I was like, I think cherry or strawberry. And she goes, oh, I like some other flavor. And when she said, I like the other flavor, I became fully aroused because I was 21 years old. So now I have a raging boner in front of this person's face. The whole thing was a fucking disaster. I don't have an STD. She's like, it's nothing. I go home. I finally get a girlfriend, Bree. We're living together. And many, many times after dinner, she says, do you want Jell-O? Oh, no, I don't want any Jell-O. Because she sees I have 4 boxes of Jell-O in the cupboard. I go, no, I don't want any Jell-O. I don't want any Jell-O. Finally, she's like, why do you have Jell-O if you don't want it? And I just blurted out finally, I don't eat Jell-O. I fucked a thing of Jell-O and there's 4 left.
Oh my God.
It was on sale.
Yeah, I couldn't pass it up.
Oh my God.
I don't even know how he got on that.
I see Kristen Bell, I'm going to shake her hand fulsomely. Because that is, when I say to people that when I met my wife and I realized I was going to marry her, pretty quickly I came to understand that it was an act of self-preservation. Like I was saving my own life because of stories like that. Because I'm a Jell-O fucker. I mean, we come by it honest, you know. We love the movies. We love to make love, you know.
That's right. Okay, so you had a line from Real Genius. That's how this started.
There's an old joke, by the way, from a long time ago, where a guy keeps going to the doctor with an orange dick, and the doctor can't figure it out, and the guy eventually, you know, after the 3 go-rounds, the guy's like, I don't know, I go home, I get home from the grocery store, I eat a bunch of cheese balls, and then read a Playboy magazine.
I used to tell people that, and they never believe me, but it is the fucking truth. They had the best interviews of all time. My favorite interview I've ever read in my life is an Rainn Wilson interview in Playboy. And truly, I did have a subscription to that magazine. And by the way, I need something more raucous than what was going on in Playboy. So I really just got it for those juicy interviews.
Sure.
And no one ever believed that.
No, I mean, it's because it's so typical.
It's
Yeah.
so cliche.
But
But I'll admit to fucking Jello. So you can believe me when I say that the Playboy wasn't doing it for me.
Absolutely. And also, once I began to read, because even a teenager eventually runs out of steam. And so you're like, all right, well, no. What's this Burt Reynolds interview?
Boom, great one. I own that one.
And then you come to realize, oh, there's like a Hunter S. Thompson quality to this journalism, that there's a licentiousness that's allowable in here.
Yes.
That it brings a level of candor that you don't find elsewhere.
I totally agree. So back to the fortitude. We have a great friend, our friend Jess. He is 6'7". He is openly gay. He is so specific.
Red
And
hair, bright red hair.
Red hair, 6'7". And over the years, it's like, I can see the temptation. It's like, come in and read for this thing. Well, I got to kind of be Butch. He'll tell me, like, I got to be. And of course, it's easy for me to say, because I'm not him, but I'll be like, man, just stay exactly who you are. Like, that's the thing. But it's fucking hard, man. It is so hard.
Well, especially 99% of actors start out broke.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
And so it's not a matter of artistic integrity. It's like I had a molar when I moved here from Chicago with a hole in it that I could fit a peppercorn in this molar, which was handy on a hike. But eventually I was like, man, I really should probably have this looked at. And I've heard tell of medical, like SAG dental plans. And so it's literally a matter of like pay my rent, buy my food, get my health insurance.
Yeah.
And so you end up doing, like we all have horror stories of the worst crap that you're so excited. Like, I did it.
Yes.
I got a full week's paycheck that's worth 3 months of carpenter wages.
Or getting Taft Heart-Lead.
Oh my God. Getting
Like,
Taft
what was the
Hartley.
commercial?
Yeah.
Lip cream for guys who blow a lot of dudes. Yes, I'll take that.
100%.
Do you have a specific memory of the absolute low point?
Well,
As far as like being hired to do something and then getting there and going, the excitement's worn off and now I'm doing this.
it was pretty potent. And, and I have to say, I mean, I'm going to disparage a person in this story.
Uh-oh.
And he deserves it. But we all have the capability of being this person. I mean, the older I get, the more I learn, the more about humanity sinks in. That requires nuance and empathy, because I could be that asshole tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But it was in the late 90s, and me and my roommate got cast on this show called, I think, just Profiler. She was a very good actress. She works for the FBI, and she's a profiler. She has like a supernatural ability to suss out serial killers and shit. And I want to say it was on ABC. And me and my roommate were cast. We were thrilled because we both were from Chicago, and we were cast as buddies, like a serial killing team.
Sure.
He had like a deformed hand.
Oh boy.
And so I would catch like girls for him to have his way with, and then we would have
You
to.
were just a wingman for a serial killer.
I was the enabler, and I was the candy man. And then we would have to dispose of the girls. And we get the job. We're so excited. We'd just been in town a few months. And I remember coming from theater where we're snotty to a fault, where it's like we perform the works of literature.
Sure.
Like, would you say this scene is more Chekhovian, or is this an Ibsen thing? And I remember calling like the casting director, being like in the breakdown and in the scenes, it just says Southern. These guys are Southern. And I was like, is this Dallas? Is it New Orleans? Is it Georgia? Is this hard R's, or is it genteel R's? And they were like, it's fucking Southern. Like, do what you did for the audition. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be on TV. And these people are treating it like garbage. They don't care. So we go do the thing, and that sort of set the tone, where it was like they're cranking out this fodder. Yeah. And in a nutshell, the actor Robert Davi was like number 3 on the show. I don't know what he was going through, but he was having a bad time at home, I'm guessing. And he was taking it out on the company.
Oh no.
So we're getting ready to shoot a scene. You've got 50 people. Okay, let's settle. So let's roll sound. Okay, Robert, are you ready? And he would start singing I Gotta Be Me. Or he would start acting out. And I'm 27. He's probably 44 or something. So, and he's been in movies and stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? This guy has made it.
Yeah.
He's
so
won
mad
the
about.
lottery, and he's being a dick. He's being like the spoiled kid to all these people. And I went to theater school. Like I want to tenaciously cling to the hope that we're like making art, that we're doing storytelling as medicine to society. But you're really you're pulling that real thin over there, man. And he would continuously do that, would like act out to let everyone know. Then he would begin arguing about like not having enough dialogue, or if someone else got the blow line or the laugh line. And I was like, oh, wow, this is okay. This is a huge education. So, I mean, the end of the story, and this is the actual cautionary tale part, because I wouldn't begrudge anybody for taking any job to get your tooth fixed. But the cautionary tale part is, it's the first time I got on like a network show like this. I called everybody across the country. I had a viewing party because it was me and my roommate. And we all sit down to watch the show, and the opening credits, and there's our names. Everybody cheers, and the show starts. And just immediately we're like, oh no, turn it off. Oh no, my mom's watching this. Like, this is so bad. And I told everyone to watch it.
I've had similar experiences, and the thing that is such great life advice is like, oh yeah, this story I told myself where if I get that thing, I'm going to be happy. Well, I'm witnessing someone have the exact thing I want. It doesn't seem to be having any impact on their well-being. That's a good thing to witness. I've met a couple of the titans in the comedy world, and have noticed that they are pretty much miserable. And I'm like, good. I mean, not good for them, but I need to see that.
Right.
It's not gonna cure any ailment of mine.
You know what? In that very same apartment where we had that horrible watch party, a friend of mine who was from the Chicago theater community of John Cusack and Jeremy Piven and that group, he was good buddies with them. And our buddy was over visiting, and John Cusack was coming to pick him up to go play basketball. And we hadn't met him. Like, we were quietly like, holy shit. You know,
Yeah.
John Cusack blows in the front door of our house screaming. And this is early, like we didn't have a cell phone yet. He's got a cell phone. This is like 99 or something. And he's like, man, shut the fuck, like screaming at somebody on the phone. Like, fuck you. I'm not budging. Fuck you. Hang up. So sorry, guys. Paul, are you ready? Let's go.
Oh, wow.
And they leave. We're like, okay, take it easy. And he blows out of there. And later we learned that he was screaming at his agent that he had optioned a property that he was developing into a book, into a script. And he was screaming about the changes that the studio wanted to make to this script. And it comes from this venerated Piven Theater Institute in Evanston. Like, that guy comes from artistry. And I just really identified with this, where he was screaming about basically a studio being like, okay, let's take this character. What if we make the chick a black guy? And, and what if the frog can sing? Like, they're making these notes. And me and my roommates were like, let's just take a breath here and take note of the fact that you can be John Cusack, who was
He had the keys to the kingdom.
A-list movie star.
Yeah.
And you can still be screaming at people to try and make your art the way you want.
Yeah. Well, because that's another thing, is you fall for this fantasy that you will never hear a no again. Like, that making it really means you're going to have full license to do what you want. And that just, for good reason, doesn't ever happen.
No.
Yeah.
Or that if you get into a project that has a big budget or big names on it, that automatically means it's good.
Right.
That also never happens.
Yeah.
Like, when you're lucky enough to win the lottery enough that you get to like pick stuff.
Yeah.
You get to read a bunch of stuff and pick one. You're like, oh wow, actually, there's a lot of really bad stuff.
Yeah. Well, your whole lens changes. It's just like any script you got to read was like opportunity, and now it's just a different paradigm.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
This is a question that I have, of course, rooted in my own egocentricity, which is like, I dated a famous woman, then married a famous woman, and you fell in love and got married to Megan. And there was a good chunk there where she was quite famous and quite successful. And you were trying to just cobble together jobs, I assume, at that point. I've had that experience, and it's to watch someone rightfully be frustrated with having too much work while you are so hungry for some work. For me, it was a lot of mental gymnastics. I wonder, was that easy for you, or was that hard for you at all?
People kept telling me that it should be hard. It was interesting. People in her life told her, be careful about this broke basement dwelling theater troll. Like,
which, by the way, isn't terrible advice.
no, it's not. Absolutely. Exercise caution in this town, for sure. 100%. But I don't know. Again, I come from such good parents that I was having a very bad time for 2 or 3 years when I first got here. I couldn't make the transition from the Chicago theater community, where I was making my living 24/7 in the theater. And then I moved to LA, and I absolutely foolishly assumed that LA would be a better theater town than Chicago, because it's where all the actors and the writers are.
Right.
And turns out that's not the case, because all of those people are trying to work in film and TV as opposed to theater.
They can commit to something like,
Absolutely. And nobody's going out to the theater because they're all trying to work in the biz. And so I was really having a tough time finding my way. And so when I started dating Megan and moved in with her, and she was just about to win her first Emmy. It was after first 2 years of Will and Grace. So she was just a superstar and a legend. It didn't occur to me to find a downside in that. Like, I was a drunk, lonely loser. Now I was a drunk, happy carpenter getting kissed.
Yeah.
And I really felt like I happily felt like my life had peaked, where I was like, holy shit, I made it. And I was working, like, I would get like a guest star job. I'd get a Sundance movie. I was working consistently. I was a dependable character actor.
Right.
And
you were busy.
I was getting paid as an actor.
Yeah.
It wasn't busy. It was sporadic. It would be like 3 to 4 months a year. And otherwise I was building furniture and working as a carpenter. And I was Mr. Mullally. Like, I would bring her slippers and her pipe at the end of the day, and keep her
rubber feet.
Yeah, keep her dinner warm. And I was like, this is incredible.
That's awesome.
Good for you.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
so
envious
healthy.
of that. It truly is. I think what gives you the ability to do that is you have defined yourself in a lot of different ways, and not just being an actor. And I think that's where all the books you've written, that's where the carpentry is. Like, I do believe, because you have a multifaceted identity, that when the one chunk of it, the one slice of the pie wasn't working, you weren't collapsing as an individual. Whereas I, 15 years ago, wasn't pursuing enough things to define myself other than just my job. So the value, and that's what your book ultimately is imploring people to go outside, go in nature, get in connection with something. I think that is what the safety net for you might have been. Would you agree? That's a big swing.
Yes, absolutely is the case. I wish I could take credit for it, that I had the idea.
Right.
Well, if I was wise. But instead, I was just following my natural proclivities, which was like, okay, no auditions this week, but I can work. I also hung lights for Disney for some years. Like, I had work. I could pay my rent, but I don't know. My sensei in college, this kabuki theater teacher who is still a big part of my life, named Shozo Sato, he married me and Megan with a tea ceremony. And like, I had such a Mr. Miyagi experience with him.
Yeah.
And one of the best wax on, wax off things he ever said to me was to always maintain the attitude of a student. And the older I get, the more it sinks in, where it simply means stay open and curious. Understand that as human beings, we're never done cooking, that we always can be learning something, improving something in our lives and the lives of those around us. And that just always allowed me to be like, okay, well, I don't have the opportunity to become a working actor this month. but I can become a fine woodworker, or I can learn about agrarianism, and I got really into learning about where my food comes from, and that led to like, oh, none of us know where our food comes from.
Right.
Oh, none of us know where anything comes from.
Yeah.
Correct.
We are giving all of our money to corporate interests, and with that, we give them our agency and say like, okay, electric company, I assume you're going to be cool with the way you extract. Like, here's my money. I'm sure you're going to be cool about like getting coal and turning that into my electricity, right? Because you're not dicks, right?
Right. And you guys, just like from the goodness of your heart, will try to figure out how to evolve out of that system, which is really inexpensive for you right now, but you'll take on a higher, right?
I mean,
You'll cut your profit margin in half, right?
Okay, fast food company, here's my money. I assume that you're concerned with the well-being of the animals and
my
so
coronary health.
and your employees, and so and just across the
right.
board. And that's, if this book is anything, it's a trumpet to all of us, including me, to stay awake, to say, oh, what is the rut? What is the consumer rut that I've been drawn into? Mine is work boots, tools, SUV, flannel shirts, etc. Smoker, like wood chip smoker.
Yeah.
Like we're
Traeger? Or what are you?
I'm a green egg man.
Oh, yeah.
I have two smokers. One is a green egg, and one is from Tulsa. It's called a hasty bake.
Oh.
My father-in-law, if I had to guess if he had ever had an extramarital affair, which he wouldn't, I would guess it'd be with his big green egg. I mean, I have had more conversations about that big green egg.
Oh, man.
It's a religion, the big green egg.
It's a beautiful piece of Japanese engineering. That's what that is. They don't fuck around, the Japanese. Both that and single malt scotch, which are two of my favorite vices.
Yeah. How much are we drinking?
Me, not much.
No, not much.
No, I used to love drinking, and then Megan and I used to drink together. I mean, we sort of met after we were both over the hill of full revelry.
Right.
And she is an amazing like Broadway singer, and she has a band. So eventually she just tapered down to nothing. She was like, you know what? I don't enjoy wine that much. Like,
Right.
I have so much fun at a party, whether I drink or not.
Yeah, does it take more or does it give more? And she
Right.
probably was like, well, I think it's taking more.
So just for health, she just quit outright. And so that really that was like, okay.
You start getting real conscious of how much you're drinking when the person next to you is not
Very
drinking
much so.
anything. Yeah.
So now I treat it much more like a nice dessert aperitif.
Well, I love those. I got to see, we have mutual friends, Morgan and Dean. Dean's involved in those, yeah?
He is, yeah.
Yeah.
From the get-go.
Yeah, and you have these amazing commercials for a single malt.
They
right?
speak so highly of you.
They do.
Well, it's mutual. But these are two of the main producers of Parks and Rec. Unsung heroes, Morgan Sackett and Dean Holland. Dean won Emmys for editing The Office and then he directed more episodes of Parks and Rec than anybody else.
He was Kristen's favorite director by a long
Yeah.
shot on Good
He's
Place.
so talented.
He is.
He's an undeniable storyteller. And the three of us we have this relationship where we make these commercials for Lagavulin Scotch, which is Ron's favorite Scotch. And it's just one of those things where it's a mutually beneficial relationship where we get to make stupid comedy shorts.
Yeah.
I mean, like every dumbass kid has been making our whole lives, but we found someone to pay us and like fly us to Scotland to do it. And we just love it. We both have benefited greatly from the talent and wisdom of these guys.
But they just BTS, people will probably love to hear this. Morgan, Dean, and Kristen have a production company called Dunshire, which is from Parks and Rec. Dunshire is from Parks and Rec because it's the
There's a
game,
game
that
that-
Adam Scott
The cones of Dunshire.
Cones of Dunshire,
It's all about
exactly.
the cones.
The cones of Dunshire. So where the deer and antelope play, I want to ask you about one of the specific stories in it because we had the pleasure of interviewing him. And I got to say, of the hundreds of people we've talked to, this was one of the people where I really was like, I want to go on a walk with this person, or I just want to be around this person, which is George Saunders. Like, admittedly, I hadn't been like a big fan of his work or anything, but just hearing him talk about writing and the way he talks about it, I was just like, man, this motherfucker is one of the most special guys I've ever had a conversation with. And so I was just delighted to hear that he's part of your book.
Yeah, he and Jeff Tweedy and I crazily all met in 2014 and formed just this weird three-way bromance where we all are attached to like the Chicagoland area. George grew up on the South Side. Jeff lives there for his whole adult life, and I spent my formative years becoming a decent naturalistic actor there. And George, he sneaks up on you. He's like a ninja with his Buddhism because part of it's because he sounds like he's from the South Side of Chicago. So he's got kind of a real sort of disarming casualness about him.
Yeah. I feel so unjudged by his
Yes.
cadence.
He's so good at empathy and sort of making the room feel equal.
Yeah.
And I say it in the book that hanging out with Jeff and George, because Jeff Tweedy, same thing. Like they both are so good at what they do. George writes fiction. Jeff makes beautiful music.
Wilco.
And they both are such gorgeous poets and philosophers. And so to get to hang out with them, and it's weird because like the thing they value in me is sort of ephemeral. It's like acting moments. You know what I mean? It's not something you can hold on a page or like put on the record player.
Yeah.
And so I just always feel like the little brother who is really lucky that these two guys are letting me ride in their Trans Am. And they're like, okay, Nick, this is called Frank Zappa.
So what do you guys do when you get together? I mean, what did you guys do in the book?
Well, we went hiking for a week in Glacier National Park, which was Jeff's idea. And it was so generous, having described them the way I just did. Jeff and I were playing a show together at Largo on New Year's Eve. And I was talking to him about this book idea. And he said, hey, what if me, you, and George went somewhere pretty and went walking and you could like use our conversations?
Wow.
What a generous
Oh, my
offer,
gosh.
Jesus. How about you bring your pen and we'll give you a book?
Exactly.
How's that sound to you?
I was like, okay, Jeff, that sounds like a good idea, Jeff. Let me make a few calls. And so we did. And first and foremost, we just love each other and have fun together.
Yeah.
And do what anybody does hiking in Glacier, which is like, oh my God, look at that waterfall. Holy shit, look at that mountain. Look at that cloud, you guys. It looks like a Fog Hat record cover. And we also had a guide, which I highly recommend. It's something that it's sort of a machismo trope that you should never.
Oh, yeah.
You should never get a guide.
This would be my problem. Yeah.
And don't even look at a map. Just head off into the woods.
No, I know where the fucking sun sets.
And the thing is, that is fun. There is something to be said for that quality, but it's also amazing to go to a museum and have somebody who knows what the hell they're talking about. It's deeply fascinating.
Yeah.
So we had a really great guide named John. And so we also then just got into the history of the land. And pretty quickly, the point of my book, which is the lens through which we modern humans, the lens through which we view nature, period, a lot of it is wrapped up in our national parks. When you think of like conservation, I think of John Muir or Greenpeace or Sierra Club or Yosemite. And walking with this historian, this guide, and looking at this incredible, beautiful landscape, thinking, oh my God, look at this untouched beauty. And hearing him be like, yes, we scraped the Blackfeet Nation from, like the reason this looks so untouched is because we brutally killed all the motherfuckers that used to live here.
Yeah.
And it's literally Indigenous Peoples Day that we're onto the subject matter. Like,
Right.
And I had to marvel at my soft white ass in that moment where I was like, I can't believe I can still be surprised by this information.
Yeah.
So that really gave it a specific perspective that engendered a lot of conversation about the way we treat one another and empathy in general. The idea of the book is to sort of reawaken us to our place in the economy of Mother Nature, like to back us out of consumerism and capitalism, not paying attention to what the channels are telling us, but instead to what our watershed and our ecosystem and our animals and basically the health of the planet is saying to us. People often say we have to save the planet, but it's backing our ego out of that and realizing the planet's going to be fine.
We're going to perish.
Yeah, exactly.
It's us we have to be worried about.
Yeah.
you won't like this because you already said you've been put in that category, but you are so much like Rainn. We had him on, and it was like one of my favorite conversations we've ever had. He's so thoughtful and sweet, but strong. And I feel like you guys are very much of the same.
I take that as a huge compliment, but I look up to Rainn. I mean, Rainn is a holy person.
Yeah.
And I'm dipshit who appreciates what he's laying down.
Well, I imagine if I were not lucky enough to have this experience kind of often, I'd imagine listening to you and going to Glacier in the same way people might hear two people talk about meditating, which is just like, it seems daunting. So I'm curious from your perspective, because I know personally, I need to be in those situations for a minute. Like I got to decompress. If I drive right now and I get out in Yellowstone, when I get out of the car, I'm gonna be like, yeah, there's a mountain, there's a river. It's underwhelming for a minute. It's actually, I got to actually decompress and get out of the frenetic life I have before I actually start experiencing the thing. So I would say or I'm only guessing, but I imagine a lot of people have the experience where like they go to that thing and they're just a little maybe bored.
Mm-hmm.
And they might think it's not for them. But I guess I would, just speaking personally, here's a great example. We all went to Sedona. I was shooting there, but we had a lot of time off. And what we slowly came to just relish was every night we would go lie on the asphalt in front of the house, all of us just in the road, and it had been hot out that day, so it was holding heat. And we'd lay on our backs and watch the stars. And I'm telling you, we would watch the stars for 2.5, 3 hours. And I was like, I am as riveted right now as I am watching Debs, by the way. Amazing job. But it took me a minute to get to that spot, but I was so relieved. Remember, I kept saying it, like, I'm so relieved that I haven't actually been permanently damaged by the incessant dopamine dump I get from all the gadgets and the pace. But it takes a minute.
Well, you make a great point. And A, thank you for the nice compliment you plugged in there for Deb.
I slid it right in.
I'm very proud of that work.
No, it's fucking awesome. That show is so cool.
B, one of my last chapters is titled Sedona Blows. And the reason is because I hate when people are like, you guys, I found the most amazing burger stand in Highland Park, and then you ruin that burger stand for all the regulars.
Don't go to Sedona.
Sedona sucks, you guys.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, so does Austin.
Yep.
Austin's the worst city in the country.
Butthole of the country. I like going there because I like disappointment.
Yeah.
But you make a great point, and those are the ruts. Those are the consumerist ruts I'm talking about. Like when you end up at Yellowstone or Yosemite or Sedona, you're in the mode of consuming not only products but information. So you land somewhere and you think, okay, what have I been told to get out of this?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, we should get Insta moments. We should make some selfies.
Gotta buy some crystals.
Yeah, but if you can shut all that off, as you point out, and look at the stars or sit next to a creek and just listen to it and let all that other stuff go away, then you remember that you're a mammal in the middle of an ecosystem.
That literally used to live right where you're sitting,
Right.
which is boggling.
And that you have a relationship with the stars, with Sedona, with the creek, and so forth. And that's all I'm driving towards. The conversation requires a lot of nuance because it's not binary. Like, we should still have our channels and our dopamine and all.
Yeah.
We're not going to stop civilization, but we can continue to have fruitful, healthy civilization if we can have the channels and dopamine and the stars. And just remember that it's all part of the same economy.
And you're so right, because the first 3 days I was there, I'm embarrassed to admit, all I was thinking about is like, oh, I got to buy a house here, right? So all I'm thinking about is I got to buy a house here. I got to live here. Somehow I like it. So I need to, and I'm looking at, I'm literally Zillowing. I'm spending so much time with this notion that because I like it, I must own something here.
Exactly.
It took me 3 days to stop thinking. I was like, I'm not going to buy a house here. Now just enjoy this place.
I like this. I must own it.
Yes. 1,000%.
It's incredible.
It is. Fuck. It's embarrassing.
Well, it's not, though. I mean, that's what we're trained to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell a quick Rainn Wilson story. When he was doing The Office, before Parks and Rec happened, as I said, we had known each other, and he was doing well, and he called me up and wanted a kitchen table out of white oak in the style of Gustav Stickley, who was one of the most formative members of like the Craftsman movement.
Oh, okay.
Like a mission style or Craftsman white oak kitchen table. beefy ass table. I said, hell yeah, Rainn. And basically, I figured out that, and this was early on in my commission work, I figured out that this table should cost probably around maybe $7,200 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, then I take a step back and I'm like, you can't ask somebody to pay $7,000 for I mean, that's the price of a pickup truck. This is crazy. And I couldn't make that leap. And so I drew it up and I sent him the plans and I said, it's $5,000. And Rainn called me up and he said, listen, man, I've been shopping for these tables. How about $10,000? And I said, you're a very nice person, Rainn, and I will remember this lesson for the rest of my life. I have now copied that gesture because it makes so much sense when you're tipping somebody or doing something that's not going to matter to your pocketbook. You can do it with $1 or with $1,000, but to make that gesture when you're the person on the other end, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I'm lucky. It's not going to make a dent, but it's going to mean everything. It's going to make that kid's table the right price. And so if you want to group me in with Rainn, I'll simply say that it was a privilege to make his kitchen table.
Oh, I want a kitchen table by you. I'll pay you $50,000.
Well, we'll talk.
Does he have to like perform on the table? Or anything?
I can probably see my way around to this table commission.
Well, Nick, this has been so much fun. Where the deer and antelope play. I guess the last thing you airstreamed around, that's a big part of the book. You and Megan in 2020 airstreamed around. And I'm a RVer myself.
I see that.
And I got to tell you, man, there is nothing. I've never felt a sense of autonomy the way I do when I get that fucking bus going down the road. Because I'm like, I don't blow up any city, man. I'll just go to the one that's like, I just feel, oh my God.
Yeah, when you are taking your plumbing and a kitchen with you.
In power.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's nothing like it.
there really isn't. I mean, I know a lot of people aren't drawn to it, but man,
It's like the canoe. Like,
Yeah.
there's some safety with it. Like, you can get out.
Yeah, I feel like I've got an ejection like backup plan or something. And just while I'm in it, it's also, I mean, great. First and foremost, it's a huge piece of consumerism. It's a huge tour bus. So I'm not acting holier now. But at the same time, I'm in this comparatively, a very small living environment with my 2 children and my wife. And it's a 20th the size of our living space normally. And I go like, oh yeah, man, this is all you need. Family and a place to shit and cook some food.
Yeah.
There's something about that too that I really get off on.
Absolutely. And a deck of cards.
And let's party.
You're good to go.
Do you play spades?
We don't. Megan and I love to do jigsaw puzzles and listen to audiobooks at the same
Oh,
time.
that's nice.
It's a highly recommended alchemy that combines the 2 brain channels.
Oh, I like that.
And somehow it heightens both experiences. Oh, wow. You can really focus in on the audiobook.
Yeah, because you're doing something just distracting enough that requires just enough attention that it quiets the fucking monkey brain and allows you to actually take in the other info.
It does, yeah.
I think.
It is. That's exactly it.
It's why people get ideas in the shower or driving. It's like you're doing just enough thing.
And the rest of the distractions are not allowed in. That
Yes.
door is shut.
Yeah, you kind of give yourself an artificial capacity.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this. I'm going to try this.
Oh my God, I can't wait to tell Kristen because Kristen's a huge puzzler.
I want to say one more thing because I'm very grateful to be here with you because you guys have a big, well-deserved audience. And that is, I encourage, one of the things I'm taking apart in this book is a sense of what it means to be an American or to be patriotic, because it's something that's very volatile in this day and age. And what I'm trying to get into is, late in the book, I mentioned the Lee Greenwood song, I'm Proud to Be an American, and I feel like there's a lot of whiteness surrounding that sentiment. And I suggest to Mr. Greenwood, I'd like to see you go to a homeless camp underneath a highway while the Blue Angels fly overhead at $600,000 a pop or whatever. Or
Yeah, the new one is like 190 million per. Yeah, it's fucking bonkers.
And ask those homeless people if they're proud to be Americans. And basically look at it from that point of view. For no other reason is that eventually we're going to have to learn that everybody needs one of the apples. As long as we're shooting each other so we can have more of the apples, we're never going to be done. We're never going to be done finding kindness and empathy for one another. And whether you like that or not, that's what our country's about. And so it's funny, like when people find out that the guy playing Ron Swanson is not a shotgun-toting libertarian, they're like, oh, I can't believe I get called beta boy and soy boy and
Oh my God.
Soy boy.
all these hilarious
Soy boy.
snowflakey nicknames where I'm just like, I don't even like.
Oh God, I know. But the part of me, the shitty part of me, I gotta admit it. I'll read that stuff on my thing too. It'll be like, I have a Fauci T-shirt I wear sometimes, and I just hear about it left and right from those people. In the animal in me wants to go, what parking lot, motherfucker? You're such a badass that you can't wear a mask. Like, what parking lot do you want to meet me in and show me what a fucking tough guy you are? I get so angry by that.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that's just it. I have that in me too. I had a dude in a tram car at the Atlanta airport a couple months ago. In a subway car or a tram car, you've got 5 stops, and every stop, more people get on. You're like, there's no more room. 20 more people get on. There's no more room. So we're like that. Everybody's wearing a mask. Halfway down the car, this gym dude, a muscle dude, has his mask under his chin. Sure. And we make eye contact, just coincidentally, and I tug at the front of my mask where I was like, hey, man, do your mask.
Yeah.
And he grabs it under his chin and makes the face of fuck you, bro. Like, I'm going to keep it down here.
Taunt you.
And I literally had just been listening to George Saunders on a podcast. And I was like, okay, don't punch the guy.
Don't make this worse.
Don't think I should shove this guy. And I was like, that guy, according to what George was just saying, he's broken in some way, in the same way we're all broken.
I totally agree.
And his brokenness is making him be a dick right now. But even just that thought process there, I'm not thinking about punching him. And for me, that's my baby step.
I say that all the time. I said, the hardest people to show empathy for is the dude in the jacked up truck who's rolling coal. Like, it takes everything in me to go, that guy got his ass beat by his dad. He got molested by his stepdad. He's telling the world, don't fuck with me. Like, that's what's going on right now. He's screaming to the world, don't fuck with me, I'll fight back. And that's so fucking heartbreaking. Yeah. But man, it is the hardest one for me to get to.
It is, but we're all dealing with that. And that's all I'm trying to unpack in this book is like taking a step back and realizing that dude in that truck and the dude pulling his mask down at me, we're all the same bunch of molecules. And we're all going to end up in the same redwood tree.
And his dad probably didn't tell him, just don't lie and work hard.
Yeah.
We don't always know what huge advantage we're walking into a situation with.
No, it's a great point.
Nick, you're radical.
So
this is
fun.
everything I had hoped it could be. And somehow we got to combine forces. Like, I need to put a fucking big outboard on one of your canoes or something. Like, we gotta synergize.
We could. I think we know better, but you and me together could sell the biggest reality show
Oh my God.
in the
So
history
true.
of television.
Yeah, soy boys. Just fucking soy boys, maybe.
Jackass, hold our beer. Yes.
Well, Nick, so great to have you. I hope everyone gets Where the Deer in Antelope play. You're wonderful, and we're going to do it again because this is now your, third book or fourth book?
Number 5.
Number 5. God damn. Prolific.
Crazily.
So on number 6, you'll come back and we'll talk again.
Thank you so much.
All right.
So glad I finally made it.
And now my favorite part of the show, the fact check with my soulmate, Monica Padman.
Nick Offerman, who post interview with him, I bought and downloaded Lincoln in the Bardo,
Great.
which he narrates.
He's one of them, right?
Yeah.
There's many.
As is Sedaris. It's a veritable who's who.
It really is. I think let me look it up. How many narrators? There's so many. It was a big deal when it first happened.
Groundbreaking.
There are 166 different narrators.
No.
Many of them celebrities. Ben Stiller, Julianne Moore.
Oh, wow.
Don Cheadle,
Don Cheadle.
Bradley Whitford.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, Bill Hader.
Bill Hader.
Bill Hader. Yeah.
Is he on there?
Yeah.
Okay, because there was one voice I was like, I think that's Bill Hader.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm relieved to hear it was.
Yes.
Okay, Nick Offerman.
When he was leaving, he started talking about, he told us about scenes from a marriage that we should start watching that, or that he was watching it, and then I started it, and
We started it.
we started it.
Yeah.
but I finished it.
You did.
Yeah, whew, it's a lot.
Really?
It is so well done. I mean, they are unbelievable, and their chemistry is unbelievable, and they're so good. Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain, but wow, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's really intense.
Yeah.
And there's this device they use where at the beginning, which you questioned a bit, but at the beginning of each episode, you actually see BTS. Like you see
the
them
actor walk to set.
exactly, like give their coat, sit in their spot, and then you hear action, then the scene starts. And we had talked about like, why are they doing that? That feels gimmicky, kind of, It didn't bother me, but once you brought it up, I started really wondering. And then by the end, I was like, I think it's to remind us this isn't real.
Really, like it's too much
Because
if
it's
you don't.
so heavy.
Yeah, interesting.
I don't know if that's true, but
Huh.
yeah.
Yeah, I am really curious what the defense of that
Yeah.
mechanism is. I'll call it a mechanism instead of a gimmick, so I
I
don't
said
sound
device.
device. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
better. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, not mechanism. Device.
But it's if you can,
I gotta get through it.
I think I've said this before on here, but I would suggest watching it alone.
Right.
Probably not with your partner.
Yeah, too much. You don't really want to have any.
I do want you to watch it because I'm curious of your takeaways.
Well, I already had such a breakthrough in my own
Right.
thought process just watching the first 3 episodes. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I'm this guy.
Yeah, but I don't think the guy's unsympathetic or likable or anything.
No, just I could see what it's like to live with me, be engaged with me often.
Yeah, that you search for logic.
Yeah, obsessively. Can't really until we've like gotten to that point. I'm
Yeah.
seemingly uncooperative to even explore the. Yeah, I was able to see that there's some big challenges with the way I approach things. Because if I was dating me, I would want to scream like, and who cares? Shut up. And this is how I feel. And we don't need to know why. Like I can imagine just going like, how about just take my feelings as they are and sit with them and not try to solve them or get to the root of them or correct them. Or,
Yeah. And I wouldn't say that's a through line necessarily. I mean, that's built into the personality of the character, but it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like they're trying to declare anything about these types of people or whatever. It's just like
I think it is what it is.
People
it's like,
it's just really hard for two people to be together.
Yeah.
And life is so complicated.
And I don't think that, I didn't think that the show itself was making him to blame because he's the way he is.
Yeah.
I just, it's rare that I would identify so much with the character and then be able to see the impact on the other people. I do think ultimately, like, she was craving this passionate emotional reaction and he lives in a world of logic. And that's part of the divide.
Yeah.
You know?
You got to keep watching.
I'll keep
There's
watching.
some
Okay.
there's some
twists and
evolution.
turns.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, it's but that was Nick's rec, and it was a good one.
Good rec, Nick.
Very good.
He should do a thing called Nick's Recs. Whether it's a blog or a podcast, Nick's Recs.
Nixon Rex.
Nixon Recs.
Parks and Recs reference.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that
I
was
see.
a bit of a
That was a stretch.
leap.
That was a stretch.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know you're going away tomorrow, and so am I.
Yes, we are. Are you excited about your trip?
I'm going home, and I am excited.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Your mom's going to spoil you.
She already asked me if I'm still drinking oat milk.
Yeah, she wants to know what groceries they have in the fridge. It's nice to be taken care of sometimes.
It is incredibly nice.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to most? Screaming, Mom, I want a milkshake?
No,
Okay.
too cold for milkshake.
Oh, okay. Mom, I want a hot chocolate.
Oh, we
Oh, that's
do
on the
drink
menu?
hot chocolate. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then you're going to the sand dunes for a boys' trip.
That's right. And the hits just keep on coming.
Yeah.
They keep on coming. I bitched about it yesterday.
Yeah.
Lock. I didn't have keys for the lock, or it broke. And then I had to buy bolt cutters. And I had to get a grinder. Then my clutch, I told you that my clutch isn't working correctly, or rather the cylinders that control the clutch, which caused me to exit the trailer erratically, break the cable. But then it didn't stop. Then Charlie came over with another trailer that I know fits 2 4-seater razors. I've had them in there before.
Yeah.
Charlie and I put one in first, then the other one. That didn't work. We deflated the tires. Then we flipped them around. Then it was Tetris. And we both looked at each other and we said, this isn't happening. We finally threw in the towel, which I don't think Charlie and I have shared a defeat. That was our first big defeat together. And we tried to talk our way out of it, but it was a defeat. I'm still not surrendered. I think there might be a way for me to elevate one of these things pretty high. That's kind of what I dreamt of last night.
Okay.
Maybe I can get 2 in one trailer. I don't know. But anyways, I have a long list. Very few of the things are checked off of it. And we're down to, I guess, 16 hours before departure.
Well, it's our last episode before Thanksgiving.
Oh.
So what are you thankful for?
So many things. So many things. Everyone I know in my life currently, which is a rarity, is healthy. That's huge. My kids are happy. Like, it's good. It's really good. This has been an incredible year of the podcast. That's incredibly good. I feel safer than I've ever felt. That's nice.
Why do you think?
Money. Like I've disengaged the part of my brain that's on a hamster wheel about financial security.
Yeah.
I've had like some months and months of no longer obsessing about that. And I wish it was a gift I could have given myself, but I didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's impacted me in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice.
How about you? What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for our community. I got a haircut the other day, and Jenny Cho, who cut it, she knows this group well. She does Kristen's hair, and I forget what we were talking about, but some party or something. And she was like, you guys are so lucky. And I was like, yeah, we are. We really, really are.
Absurdly lucky.
Yeah. She was like, there's always someone to celebrate. I'm like, yeah, that's really true. It's very rare and special. And I do feel that I've been given the gift of unconditional friendship my whole life, which is incredibly
Might be the
lucky.
most important thing.
I think so.
Truly. Yeah, to have community, to have friends, to be social. For me, it's always a big relief from the oppression of my own brain is to be around other people. I get distracted, luckily, by them enough that I can't obsess about all my many obsessions.
Yeah. And I'm excited about us eating together. I'm going to cook 2 stuffings.
You are.
Yeah, because I want to try these 2 recipes.
That's music to my ears because I am of the opinion that stuffing shouldn't be 1/10 of the meal. It should be like 40%
I
of the
agree.
meal.
It's the best part.
It goes so quick. Every Thanksgiving I've ever attended, people are all over that stuffing.
Oh, yeah.
And the gravy. Those things are gone in a heartbeat. And then you got, piles of turkey no one's touching. There's a bunch of carrots that were baked. People are dabbling in them. But it's that stuffing. That's why we all came.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm trying my chef's stuffing, Allison Roman, and a Bon Appetit stuffing as well.
I'm going to eat the hell out of it.
Okay.
Do you think PP will get a carcass this year?
Oh, wow.
Maybe I should bring her a carcass. I loved how happy she was when she got that carcass.
Yeah.
I want her to get another.
What do we think? I think it was Barb.
I thought PP got cocoa in her mouth.
Right.
For a minute.
It really looked like PP had devoured it.
Because our dogs weren't there, I don't think. But yeah, Barb would be the most logical first stop. She was the most fragile.
That's right.
Now, Whiskey's taken her spot.
Yeah, but people know to be scared of Whiskey.
Well, he's got a bark.
And a bite. He bites everyone.
It's so soft. He's got like mushy teeth and his mastoid's weak. You're fine. If you're ever over at my house, this is to anyone, and you get attacked by Whiskey, just let him go at it. It doesn't hurt.
Just be nice.
Yeah,
Just
his
give him that.
teeth are mushy. Like Sedaris, he's got quicksand gums. And it'll pose no threat.
Okay. That's good to know.
Now, Frank, kick him. You see him coming at you, kick him.
Yeah.
Let him know that you're the boss or he'll bite you.
He will.
I hate
God,
that.
you have 2 biters.
I know. I hate it.
Yeah.
It's not cool that if you come to our house, there's a chance you're going to get nipped at. I don't like that about this household I'm a part of.
I
I
understand.
want to be a place where people can come over and not get bit.
Yeah, I think that's like a low bar.
I think so. One that I've always had, but now it's gone. All bets are off with Frank.
Yeah.
People might like this. I came up with a little a motto for Frank.
Oh.
Franks, but no Franks.
Oh, that's cute.
That's what I say to him when he's getting a little crazy.
Oh, that's
you know,
nice.
Franks, but no Franks.
That's great. Okay, a couple facts, just a couple.
Yeah.
How much are vaccine passports, the fake ones? I was looking this up, but then I started to get paranoid about looking it up, like I'm going to get tracked or something,
okay.
flagged. I saw like some for 250, and then one article was saying they're down to 100.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so
for the-
those are options for people out there.
Are there any coupons people can clip to reduce the...
I wouldn't be surprised. How many Emmys did Megan win? She is best known for playing Karen Walker on the NBC sitcom Will and Grace, for which she received 8 Primetime Emmy Award nominations for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series, winning twice in 2000 and 2006.
Yeah. God bless those people who go after they've lost 6, 7, 8, 9. We've had some people that like lost 11 times.
You
and kept
remember
going.
Ed Sheeran was talking about that?
Yeah, yeah. What did we come up with? Fool me once, shame on me. Oh, no, I came up. Fool me once, shame on thee. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah.
It's conventionally fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. But why not make it rhyme?
You love a rhyme.
I love a rhyme. Fool me once, shame on thee.
I'm grateful for rhymes.
Oh, that's one of your on your gratitude
Yeah,
list.
adding that to my list
yeah.
of things I'm thankful for.
It's good.
All right.
That was it, the Emmy total?
Yeah. Wait, did I have
I thought you
anything
said
else?
2 and then you said 1.
No, I said 2 vaccine passports.
Oh, you did, and you delivered on both.
Also, Nick is going to build me a table.
Right.
I haven't checked back in on it,
Uh-huh.
but
You're going to have
I
to
take that
overpay
as
him
a
'cause
promise.
What we learned is that he gives people a lower price
That's right.
than what he deserves.
Oh, I'm going to Rainn Wilson it. Don't
okay,
worry.
great. Okay, great.
Don't worry. I think I said, you remind me of him.
Right.
And then he told this beautiful story about him.
Yeah. It's almost as if you were setting him up.
Sim.
Sim.
Oh, I'm grateful for this, Sim.
Praise be to the Sim and its bounty.
I hope you have a wonderful boys trip.
I hope you have an incredible trip to Duluth, Georgia.
Thank you.
Eat some Chrissy's for me.
Oh, I will. Oh, speaking of that, I do want to shout out Cal Penn, who we
Yeah.
have had on this program, who's wonderful. He has a book out. He sent it to me, and he sent me a gift card for Cassie's.
For White Cassie's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knew what he was doing.
He knows the quickest way to your heart. Cassie's and Chrissy's.
That's right.
All right, I love
Oh,
you.
wait, I'm so sorry. I have to
yeah.
say one thing that just reminded me.
Okay.
It might take it in a little bit of a different direction, which I'm sorry. I know you're in a hurry. But Diwali was recently, I'm not pronouncing that right. It's an Indian holiday. It's like the most popular
I thought
Indian
you were saying
holiday.
a guess. I'm like, we had a guest named Diwali and I have forgotten that.
No. Anyway, there a lot of prominent Indians had a party,
They did?
and I was not invited.
Oh my God. Who was at the party?
Mindy.
Oh. Hassan?
Oh, fuck. I didn't see Hassan in that
Then
picture.
it wasn't
Then
that
I feel
prominent.
fine. You're
yeah,
right.
if he wasn't there, then
But I'm
was it,
sure he was invited.
was it
couldn't
really a
make it.
Desi blowout without Hassan? I don't think so.
That's true. But I think Cal Penn was there, and then Mina Harris was there, and like, ugh.
Fuck.
I know. And then I felt really,
Excluded.
I had a roller coaster. It's like, oh man, this is what I did to myself. I kept myself out of that group so I could be a part of
Turned your
this
back on
other
your
group.
community like OJ.
I did, but I'm trying to be honest about my
I know.
feelings.
I know.
They don't like my honesty.
No, I think they relate. A lot of people. Mostly it's all I hear is that people relate to your honesty.
Well, they're not throwing fancy parties.
Well, that's a good point.
Anyway, I just wanted to make that clear.
Well, so it sounds like you'd like to be invited to next year's.
Well, that was the other thing. Then I was like, okay, if I was invited, would I feel self-conscious? Probably. And then I am a woman without a house.
A woman without a country.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what I meant.
I'd go in a second if I got invited.
I know you would. Would you bring me as a +1?
Yeah.
Okay.
You could go and be like, I went. I mean, but I wasn't invited. Like you could best of both worlds.
Interesting.
I only went to make Dax happy.
Okay.
You can like dance on the fence here.
That's a good entree.
You can have it both ways.
Ding, 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 entree Thanksgiving. All right, I love you.
I love you too.